What's on the menu today? The table is set your way. Sit down and have your say. Bon appetit.
Welcome to the Potluck Webcast with Master Chef Warren L. Booker Jr.
Let's see.
Hello, people. This is Warren L. Booker Jr. Thank you so much. We have reached 100 subscribers. Actually, as of today, it's 149. Thank you. Let's keep it going. All righty. Good day, people. It is another episode of the soon-to-be internationally known webcast, The Potluck. I am your host, Warren L. Booker Jr., and I am so excited. I have some very special sous chefs that are here with me today, and I can't wait to bring them in. This is my family. Some of them that I didn't know was family, should have known. There are some I have never seen a day in my life. There are some I haven't seen in years. But we're going to bring this thing all together. And I'm going to bring in first the woman who made this all possible, the woman who is the visionary behind all of this. And this is my cousin, my newfound cousin, Miss Subrena. Let's bring cousin Subrena in. How are you doing, Subrena? Welcome to the Potluck.
Thank you. I'm doing well.
How are you today?
I'm doing good. Thank you.
Okay. And just a little bit about my cousin. I like to brag on my people. Subrena is Mary's great-granddaughter. She is a technical and creative writer, a research analyst, an artist, and an entrepreneur, and she has authored We Are Milele in Spite of the Tabab. And help me out, because I meant to ask you that before we got here. Did I say that right?
You did.
Okay.
Both words.
Thank God for the public education, and hopefully I don't have to share it again. All right. So with that being said, again, welcome and thank you for your vision. The next person we're going to bring is Miss Lorraine, and I don't think I can bring her up. We have some technical issues, but when that gets worked out, we'll get back to it. But meanwhile, she has worked in the field of education and teaching for over 25 years. At the age of 65 years old, Lorraine went to Atlanta Metropolitan College and acquired her associate's degree in early childhood education. She has taught pre-K for 10 years and retired in 2021. And Miss Lorraine, I am jealous. I'm ready to retire. I'm going into my 10th year, and I'm looking forward to retirement already. Please know. And I guess just educators run in our family. Next, we have, and let me make sure this person is here. Okay. I don't see her here. So we'll move on. Miss Bernice Holmes Sullivan. Let me stand corrected. Miss Bernice Holmes Sullivan. She is a writer, entrepreneur, and retired licensed LPN. As an entrepreneur, Bernice owns Sully's Diner across from the University of Arkansas at Pine Bluff, my alma mater, and has a variety of Sister Girl seasons vinegars. As a nurse, Bernice worked at Jefferson Hospital and Tucker Maximum Prison. Again, Miss Sullivan, welcome to the Potluck Webcast. All right.
Well, thank you.
You're so welcome. Next, we have Miss Lawanda Brooks. And Lawanda Brooks, she has owned Sister Girl Soul Food Cafe. She is a skilled writer, and she's currently recording a character album. Welcome to the Potluck, Miss Lawanda.
Thank you.
You hear me talking. I was about to say now. She's not going to speak to me. We're kinfolk. Talk to me. All righty. Next, we have Miss Sonia Jones Wilson, who is one of my cousins that I do know from Chicago. And oftentimes we don't know what our family members do. We know that they're just family. But I have learned today that she has worked for John A. Stronger, Cook County Hospital, 31 years as administrative assistant, number 2 in the surgery department. So welcome to the Potluck table.
Thank you.
I know your daughter Cece has been with you. This is your first time. I'm glad to have you with me. Next, we have Miss Valerie K.K. McCoy, and she's going to help me with that last name. Once you get on, please help me with the last name, cousin.
It's Valerie Tawia.
Valerie Tawia. I should have tried that. That's what I was thinking. And a little bit more about Miss Tawia. Let's see here, is the granddaughter. She's the granddaughter of Mariah's, and she worked in law enforcement as a field and instructional officer in LA County for 23 years. And then next we have Miss Doris Johnson. Here we go. We have a lot of people on the table today. People know her as Greenie. And of course, I know that nickname. And she is Danny's granddaughter, has worked for the Arkansas Department of Corrections as a fiscal analyst for 28 years. And she has been married 35 years. And also for many years, she did my mom and dad. So, yeah, we definitely know that have that relationship. Sure. All righty. Next, we have Miss Karen Slaughter. Miss Karen Slaughter, she is a mediator and works in the field of restorative justice. Welcome to the potluck, Miss Slaughter.
Thank you. Thank you.
Okay. And I think last but definitely not least, we have Miss Valerie. Is Valerie? Let's see here. We have a lineup. We have a lineup. All right. Is Valerie just a spectator? Or is she
Yeah.
one of the guests? Okay. All right. Also, if there's anyone else out there that wants to join, you can join. You can watch on my Facebook page by typing in Warren L. Booker Jr. My page is public. You can watch. Also, you can go to YouTube and watch. Just typing in Warren Booker Jr. and you will be able to join. All righty. So let's get with it. We have all of our guests here, and it will be rude for me to invite you to my table, and I'm not giving appetizer. So I have actually ordered an appetizer today, and the appetizer for today is family. Like branches on a tree. We all grow in different directions, yet our roots remain as one. Again, family, like branches on a tree. We all grow in different directions, and yet our roots remain as one. And this is kind of improv. Does anyone have something they want to add to that or expound on what I just read to you? And like,
you know what? I'm gonna, if you don't mind, I'm gonna read a little bit about kind of the whole about family. I don't know if it's too much.
Okay.
But it speaks to why I named the book the way that I did. Should I hold that until after?
Actually, I'm gonna get there.
Okay.
I'll
Okay.
get there.
Then I'll reserve it.
Okay. All righty. So again, like I stated, we're gonna get there. And I feel that it's important to know your roots. It's important to know your history. And more importantly, our history does not start as slavery. Does not start at the civil rights movement, and that's what a lot of people try, or that's the narrative that a lot of people try to write. We are more than Martin Luther King. While I am so thankful for him, I played him several times. It's not only Rosa Parks. We know about that. We know that story. Our history is so much deeper than that, and it's because of people like Subrena that are helping us know our own family. And with that being said, Subrena sent me a video like shortly before all it started, and I was like, I don't care what they have to do. I'm going to add this, and what she's doing now. This is really pretty much an online family reunion, and I think that this is very befitting. So listen up, people.
Roydale and Alberstein's grandmother and my grandmother, okay, they were sisters. So that make me and Roydale and Alberstein, okay, that's going for a second. Got same grandmother. They my first cousins. Okay, their children would be my second. Their children to you all, my children, that would make you all maybe third. I'm not sure if it's third or fourth. I know you can't code them. I know you can't be with them in a relationship because those are our kin people. So one that just got shot, Derek, okay, that's gonna be Alberstein's great grandson. So that would have made him, if he was still alive, that would have made him you all's maybe sixth cousin.
Okay. And I can honestly say there have been times that my grandmother may be trying to explain who somebody is. And it's like that. I'm like, you know what? It's a cousin, it's an uncle, it's an aunt. You know, I love you. I don't want to try to date you. I'm just gonna love on you and family, and I love you. So one of our motivations, and one of the why Subrena kind of wanted to do this around Juneteenth, because for one, there's a portion of her books, rather, that's plural. it kind of covers Juneteenth and that impact. And being that on this weekend we will be celebrating Juneteenth. Of course, Monday is actually a federal holiday that's reserved. We all know that it's June 19th. There's a brief history about Juneteenth that I want to share, and then we're going to get into our family's business.
Open a U.S. history book, and chances are its author will quickly point out January 1st, 1863, the date President Abraham Lincoln, with one proclamation, orders and declares that all persons held as slaves
I
shall
got
be
back
free.
in, guys.
What
I
that
got
same
this
history book might fail to
couple of
mention
times.
is what happened to these words once they arrived on the shores of Galveston, Texas, more than 2 years after Lincoln wrote them. In the
think something
1860s,
going
word
on
didn't
now.
travel like it did now. And in 1865, months after General Robert E. Lee's surrender, word of the end of the Civil War had yet to hit the southern state and its 250,000 slaves. And then came General Gordon Granger's arrival
Can
in
you hear me?
Galveston, June 19, 1865, and General Order Number 3, all slaves are free. Juneteenth was born. While Juneteenth celebrations continued to varying degrees in the U.S. for decades, it would take until 1980 for Texas to become the first state to declare it a holiday. Today, 47 states recognize it and the District of Columbia, a chapter of our history for far too long left out of the books designed to document it. But no longer. Juneteenth, or as the National Museum of African American History and Culture now calls it, our country's second Independence Day.
There you have it. There you have it. That's a brief, very brief summary of something that is so deep and so near and dear to our hearts that is actually kind of new. Some people never knew what Juneteenth was until it was declared a national holiday in 2021. So that's important to know. But we cannot squeeze all of that into 45 minutes because I'm going to be selfish today. I want to know about my family's history. We're going to delve straight into it. Now, there is a quote that Subrena shared with me by Jane Howard, and it states, "Call it a clan, call it a network, call it a tribe, call it a family. Whatever you call it, whoever you are, you need one." So with that being said, I know that you're very motivated, Subrena, and family is very important to you. You pull people together like I know, but I didn't know that you knew them, and you and I still have never met in person. So what I want to know, what was your motivation behind writing your books? And I keep saying plural because she has authored several books, and even as it relates to this particular one, there are 2 volumes to that. So if you would please share with us, what was your motivation behind writing your books?
Okay, my mom, who just popped off, Bernice, she brought me to a Foot family reunion. And I'll say in the past, we've had kind of our branches family reunion, but not the extended one. And so that was in 2016, I think. And we were at the bowling alley in Pine Bluff, and then we were at the church in North Little Rock. And in particular in North Little Rock, the only people I knew there was my mother and my daughters. That was unacceptable for me, you know, and my kids had just lost their father in 2019. And they grew up kind of closer to my ex-husband's side of the family. They all lived in close proximity to him, and they were around the same ages. And so I realized the neglect that I had done in terms of taking them around to meet family and for me to make sure I'm familiar with family. I left that family reunion determined to get to know my people, my kinfolk. And so I asked my mom about some of the names I grew up knowing. Uncle Doc, Uncle Son, Uncle Chick. I've heard all of those names. Uncle Green, Cousin Jimmy. We lived in his house when I was in high school. And so I wanted to know more. And my mom took me over to Evelina's house. And Evelina ended up, you know, calling one family member after the other. And it just took off. It was a downhill slope after that. Just running downhill. Yeah. And over the course of 3 years, I've interviewed about 100 of our family members.
Wow. 100 family members.
About 100, 90 something.
Wow. And you said you had something to share about family earlier. If you would go ahead and share that. but anytime that you want to share, because we're going to be talking about family for the most part today, all day.
Okay. So I don't know who all in the family has a copy of the book, but in particular, I wrote a letter to the family, and I explained kind of the motivation behind writing the book. I said I wrote "We Are Milele" in spite of Tubob, in order to highlight familiar names and faces, reveal newly discovered family members, spotlight places of residence, and speak about the socio-political climate in which our ancestors lived. The book will trek through our ancestors' sojourn from the 18th century through the Reconstruction and Jim Crow eras. The accounting of their journeys will be substantiated by historical documents. These documents will allow us to see our ancestors, to see that our ancestors were connected to major historical events and figures. In short, I have authored an abbreviated history book of us. So the letter is actually longer than that, but that's the part that I wanted to just share, kind of my motivation behind writing this.
Okay. So my next question, there may be someone that's here at the potluck table with us, or just maybe listening via Facebook or via YouTube, that have a dream, that have a goal, that wants to, it may not even be about family, that want to do something like write a book, write a movie, write poems. What advice would you give them as it relates to just getting started and pursuing that dream or vision?
Really, you just summed it up. Just get started. Just do it. You know, that's one of the things that I have told. I'm gonna use my children. I've told my children, if you have a fear of something that's holding you back, I tell them, feel the fear, but do it anyhow. I just say it, as country as I can, do it anyhow, because I want to minimize the threat of, I don't know what it is that'll hold you back. I don't know if it's fear of not succeeding, and who holds the definition of success for you. So even if you write a chapter in 3 years, you've written a chapter. What are you measuring that up against? Mm-hmm. Right. So you have that definition of success. So whatever it is you want to do it. Just do it. You're the thing that's holding yourself back.
Right. And I agree with that. And that's pretty much my advice to people as well, is just do it. And don't think small. I mean, think big. Go for it. If you're going to go all the way. I always tell people, for me, it's 0 or 100. So you don't get nothing or you get all of it. So I think that's very important. And hopefully someone out there gets inspired. Also, real quick, if there are family members who are not panelists, you can also stream this via Facebook by going to my page, which is Warren L. Booker Jr., or you can go to YouTube and just type in Warren Booker Jr. and you can stream live there. I'm getting some messages here saying people are trying to enter, but we're full. We only have 10, but I don't want you to miss out. So you can either, again, go to Facebook or YouTube to watch it, because we want you to be a part, and we can also see your comments as well. I see we have Evelina who is here. She said, hello, family. How are you doing? Welcome to the potluck. She's a constant supporter.
I wanted her on so bad today because she really inspired me to keep going.
Good. And I know, with that being said, I know it wasn't easy. You probably got discouraged at times. There may be even some people who were not willing to, or probably couldn't remember certain things. But I can say that you stayed with it and you got it. So the next question that I'm going to transition to will be about education. And real quick, Subrena, before we move on, will you say the name of this particular book again?
We Are Milele, in spite of Tubob. Okay. And Milele means, it's Swahili. It means everlasting.
Everlasting, Evelina. I like that. All right, we're going to transition now to the education system. And that's actually an area, as we were speaking earlier, for some reason, most of our family, well, a lot of our family rather, are in education. Mm-hmm. And this question will be targeted towards Miss Lorraine. So I want you to listen up. And the question is there merit to what and I guess I need to read what Carter G. Woodson said first, and then I can move on. And he stated, Blacks are being culturally indoctrinated rather than taught in American schools. This conditioning causes Blacks to seek out inferior places in a greater society. Woodson went on to say, when you control a man's thinking, you do not have to worry about his actions. Again, when you control a man's thinking, you don't have to worry about his actions. So that a man thinketh, so is. Come on,
So
church.
he is. So he is.
So is he. All righty. So when that happens, you take control of their thinking. You do not have to tell them to stand here or go yonder. He will find his proper place and he will stay in it. And I think a lot of us have been told what our proper place is, and it's oftentimes at the bottom or to be inferior. And I thank God that I was not given that talk. Like saying Hester says that she's like that. So the question is to cousin Lorraine, and is there any merit to what Woodson stated in regards to being indoctrinated rather than taught? How important is it that we incorporate comprehensive Black history into the American educational system? How is it important that we incorporate Black history into the American educational system? And we can't see her, but I will bring her up. Mr.
Can
Rain,
you hear me?
yes, we can.
Okay. I think it's very important that we incorporate Black history into our daily classroom lessons plans. As you mentioned earlier, I, for about 10 years, have taught pre-K, pre-kindergarten, and I find that those children very, very much enjoy knowing about our people and what we accomplished. And a lot of them don't know a lot of things that our people accomplished. And this thing about February Black History Month, I think is very, very important that we continue that, and if and more during the year, bring up some more things about our people. They don't realize who made the peanut butter.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? They don't know about this guy named Banneker who invented the clock and then helped develop Washington, D.C. Things like this, I think, are very important for our babies. Even at 4 years old, some of them are 5, but they soak that information up and they're very proud. And you could see it in their eyes when you have that day where you dress up as that person you admire, like Thurgood Marshall, or the guy who made the peanut butter, and we help them dress up from head to toe to emulate or to look like that individual, and they knew all about that individual, how he made the peanut butter and how he did this or she did that. Like Mae Jameson, one girl came in with the whole suit from head to toe. She was dressed up like that lady. Now this is fantastic, and they seem to enjoy it, and they seem to, whew, it's really nice to walk around the school. Like I said, we're pre-K, but we got it going on, and we soak up a lot of information. And when we dress up, our little babies, we walk around the school. They got the camera going, and we're singing. We're pre-K, we got pre-K, and all that jazz. And it just, I don't know what to say. I don't know what to say, but they enjoy it, and they enjoy knowing about our folks. And that's probably the only place they're going to find out about our folks. And we need to keep pushing that particular aspect.
Amen.
Black History Month, and anything more we can incorporate throughout the year. I'm going to say this one thing, and I'm going to finish it up like this. Reading is very important. When we have Men Can Read Day, we get guys come in, police officers, doctors, lawyers, and they sit down and read to the students, because we want to push that factor. You need to keep your head in those books and read. And that's all I can say for now. I could say more, but I don't want to take up the rest of your time.
Okay. And as an educator, you've said a lot of things I probably would say, but I think that it's very important that we also write our own history, and we don't let someone else write our narratives. It's important for us to research and not only the famous Americans, if you will, within your own family. Spotlight those family members that have done great things. You have someone in your family that played professional basketball, like our Uncle Boy Bowie. Spotlight that. Let those kids know that. If you have a cousin that's in your family that's writer, producer, filmmaker, has appeared on some Hollywood films like Warren Booker Jr., let them know that.
All right.
And Subrena has some of that as well. We have authors that are in our family. And I know for Warren Booker, he said, as for me in my house, Warren Booker Sr., we're going to serve the Lord, and we're going to know Black history 366 days of the
There
year.
it is.
The extra day on there, just in case we were out for one of them. So that's very important. And again, to know our history, not just what's been put out there, not just Martin Luther King, not just Rosa Parks, not just the slavery. And Subrena has done that. And she's spotlighted some people in our family that are basically royalty. And not saying that the queens before me now are not royalty, but we have worth, we have value. And I believe when people know that, you know your worth, you know your value, you know your family has a certain pedigree, you will act different. I may not be so quick to pull a trigger on somebody. I may not be so curious, so quick to disrespect Miss Doris or Miss Lawanda or Miss Valley, Miss Karen, because I know you don't do it.
Yeah,
So
I agree.
Very important. You have something else you'd like to add to that, Subrena?
Yeah, I would. Just piggybacking off of that, I told my mom, I told my sister, who's Lawanda on the panel, that I didn't know what I was missing until I found it. So finding all of the history in these 2 volumes, how far back entrepreneurship is in our family, and then just the scope of the work that we did. Not that my shoulders were slumped to begin with, because Bernice, who's off the panel right now, that's my mom, and she taught Lawanda and I that we came from kings and queens of Africa, that we came from, indigenous people that own this land. And so I had a sense of pride, but it's nothing like knowing those names, knowing where they came from, that gives you kind of a sense of accountability to live up to those that came before us. So I'm in total agreement with you on that.
Okay. So our next dish that we're going to serve is dispelling negative stereotypes. So, and this question goes to anyone, and I am a teacher, so I will call you out because you're not going to sit at our table and not talk. So, with that being said, how important is it that we write our own narrative? You kind of do that already, but Mr. Wonder, do you want to kind of speak on that, on how important it is for us to write our own narratives?
Well, I think it's very important because, we need our kids to understand exactly where we came from. We need them to know that there's been, in other people's history is not our history. They tell their history, give us their history, but it's not our history. So, we have to get to the truth, and so they can know, that everything out there is not really what it seems to be. But we need to write our own history because we need to leave something for them. I'm trying to get this right. We need to leave something for them because one day, we're going to be those ancestors ourselves, and we can leave something in our history book, in our songs, in our poetry. I want them to be proud of their ancestors. And so I guess that's, if you could understand where I'm trying to come from.
Yeah.
And as a writer, as a person, you have that opportunity.
Do y'all understand what I'm trying to say here?
Yeah.
And we have that burden, we have that responsibility to tell our stories. It may be through song, Miss Sonia. It may be through Sabrina. It may be through a creative writing, Lawanda. It may be through a film or through a play. But we're writing and telling our story and telling it truthfully. I think that's very important. Because oftentimes we cover up things that's not truthful, or sometimes ignorance, and we just don't know. I mean, to be truthful, there were times that I was ashamed to be associated with anything African. Because I just saw people with in huts, living in mud houses, barefoot with big bellies and yellow eyes, because that's what I saw on television.
Right.
But then, oh God, my father educated me, and I learned so much, and I just can't wait to go to Africa so I can go over to Nigeria and see my people according to my ancestry.com.
All right.
That I was. So I can't wait now. And it's important for us now to expose our children, our family. It's not only children, some elderly people are ignorant to the fact of true Black history. So I think that's important. And when I say ignorant, let me preface that that's not a bad word. That just means that you don't know. And we all are ignorant to something.
Yeah.
I'm ignorant to a lot, but I'm willing to learn.
Well, we learn every day.
Back off of what Lawanda said. I mean, I wholeheartedly agree with you, Lawanda, on that, and even what you said, Warren, too, because my first introduction into the African culture was Tarzan. I remember being a little girl, watching Tarzan, and you saw the pygmies, and you saw, half dressed, and it was shameful to see half dressed. And I thank God for the mother that I have, because she taught us to be proud of African history. But just going back to what Lawanda said, we have to make sure that our narrative, we're telling our true story, that whether it's through song, like the album Lawanda's making, whether it's through history books like I've written, poetry books, if we leave it to others to tell the story, you won't know half the story.
Right. They're not going to tell it.
Right.
Like we know.
Yes, ma'am.
Yeah.
And also dealing with spirituality too, because, they need to learn spirituality. I mean, there's religion out there, but spirituality is what we got, that, we came here with that. That was God given, and spirituality, it teaches us about ourselves, not what somebody else told us who we are, So I'm just saying.
Yeah. It's what's in our heart, but we have to tell our children and our children's children, they need to know our history and where we come from and what our parents and foreparents have done way back then, So it's good to know, like you did a very good job, Subrena.
Right.
My book. Well, I said, I got to get my book, but you did a very good job.
It's coming.
And doing what you did.
Excellent job.
That's a lot of work,
Thank you.
To who and family. It's good to know family, and it's good to have family reunion.
Yes.
And and bring the grandkids, the great grandkids, so they can know who their family, the family is, and their relatives, who they are. Yeah, it's good.
Mine will be at the next one. They were at the last one, but they will certainly be at the next one.
Yeah,
I agree with you, Sonia.
Yes.
Yeah,
it's very important to know family.
Good to know our history.
Yes, good to know our history.
Family history, and not somebody else's.
Not somebody else's. That's true.
And Warren, you had said earlier that I may have gotten discouraged along the way, and I kept going. Not once. Exhausted. It took 3 years to write these 2 books. And when I say 3 years, I hate to admit the obsession that I had, but I mean 7 days a week. And I had a 9-to-5 job. So I did those hours, and then I came home and I worked another 8 to 10 hours. So that meant I was up working anywhere from 18 to 20 hours a day. And I did that for 3 years. My oldest daughter thought I was obsessed. And had it not been for Lawanda, I mean, she would bring plates of food over to the house for me. And I would say, I'm so hungry. But I did not want to get up. That's how bad I had it, y'all. But it was like I had a mission.
Yeah, you had
a mission. Images on the pages. And I can't tell you how many thousands.
He helped you through it, but he helped you through it.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
It just took hold of your spirit. Took hold of
spirit.
Told of her spirit. Yes, he
Yes.
did.
Yes, ma'am. Yes,
Thank you. Thank you.
One step, but he'll take two.
Mhm.
Yes, yes, yes.
Uh-oh, you're muted, Warren.
Yeah, you muted.
Can we say that you're the next Alex Haley?
Yes, we can say that.
Yeah.
I want us
Yeah.
to be that.
Alex
You know,
Haley, Shonda Rhimes, all of them.
Yes, yes.
I will say that there is a documentary in the works. I didn't start out doing that. I started out doing that little family tree and I tried to put the names on there. And then I started learning the facts about the name and the associations we had to some major historical events. And then I thought, you know, everybody may think their family is the bomb, but I know ours is.
Okay, I love it.
No way.
So with that being said, Miss Subrena, I'm going to pull up an image here. Could you explain this image to us?
Yeah, this in particular, I call it the Milele legacy poster, and this is associated with Dave Foote and his wife Pliny, and I will say Wash and Cherry, who are our oldest documented Arkansas Foote relatives. Dave was one of 8 of their children. But what this particular thing represents, he married, well, let me back up to his parents. Dave's parents was Wash Foote and Cherry Gullich. We forgot her last name over time. All we knew was Cherry. And I found out that Cherry was a Chinook Indian. All these years I thought we were Cherokee. And she came out of North and South Dakota. So that little brown thing that those Indians are standing on, that is representative of the state of North or South Dakota. And that is what their actual clothing looks like. So if you ever see that Chinook helicopter, Chinook canoes, you'll see the image of that design on the back of that one cloak. And then on the camera, the Virginia Foote, Wash came from Virginia, and then he migrated to Mississippi, and then from Mississippi to Arkansas, and I think a brief time in Texas. So that represents the Virginia Foote. And then he married Pliny Kelly. Her people came from South Carolina, and it was the Kellys and the Peoples and the Scarboroughs. So you'll see in the box French, Irish, Scandinavian, and British German. Those are the enslavers' ethnicities. So we know that the Kellys and the people were Irish and Scot-Irish. We know that the Scarboroughs are Scandinavian. We know that the Footes are British and German. And we know that Cherry in North and South Dakota, the people that were there were Spaniards and French. And then I put the African ancestry. You'll see Sierra Leone and Liberian Africans on the Kellyan peoples. And that's because 9 times out of 10, planters wanted slaves from Sierra Leone, Liberia, Nigeria, and Ghana because they were in particular rice growing countries. And South Carolina, that was their cash crop, was rice. So they purchased slaves that came from those areas because prior to the slaves, they could not make the rice grow. And then Cameroon, a lot of slave advertisements, they boasted that they had slaves fresh from Cameroon. So, you know, I'm not going to say it's exact, but I put it on there just to make sure that all of the African DNA breakdown that my ancestry was, that I represented that, and I put it in the states that it was more than likely those slaves came from those countries.
Gotcha.
Beautiful.
So you mean to tell me I got all of that running in my veins?
Absolutely.
Also, yes, go ahead.
No, I'm saying and more because
Okay.
depending on
Yeah.
your
The other
mother's
side.
side,
Yeah.
yeah.
So with that being said, I noticed that you were that even it said Dave Foot, and as far as the relatives I know, it's Foots, Foots. And I've noticed even the younger generation now they're spelling it Footz, and it's all the same family. So can you explain the name, name change, if you will, or additions for me, please?
I will. So whether it is on the front of the book, it says it's the history of the Foots, the Gullich, the Peoples, the Kelly, and the Scarboroughs. Each of those surnames, you may have gotten a name change 5 different times, right? As well as the first names. The first names were changed as well. You may get a different name between a father and a son. Even within your own, you may have been born with one name. A marriage certificate had another a name on it. World War I cards for men may have different spelling, and then your headstone may have been even another spelling. And so, and in We Are Milele, you will see that, and I've noted that it has changed over the course of time. But what I will say is the enslavers, their last name was Foote, Foot, no S. But again, it's all of it.
Okay. Okay. Now moving on, this is targeted for Miss Valerie, and that's Miss Valerie Tawaya.
Yes.
Okay. The question is targeted towards you. Do you think the injustice in America plays a role in one choosing criminal activities, or is it just an excuse to behave badly? Again, do you think the injustice in America plays a role in one choosing criminal activity, or is it just an excuse to behave badly? And I'll start with you, and anyone else that wants to chime in is more than welcome.
I think the conditions of African Americans in this country is directly attributed to slavery. Because if you free somebody and they have nothing to work with, all they have is the tools that they brought from Africa that they learned and shared with each other. So if they emancipated us and turned us loose, you had no job, you had no land, you had no home. And the main thing is that they destroyed your family system. When they stole your mama, your grandma to another plantation, you don't know who you are. So that connectivity, even from your mother's womb, is destroyed. And so the system is built on us, not just the cotton that we picked. It's still institutional racism as to how far you can go, what educational level you get, where you can live, the redlining, the redistricting. All of those are levels of slavery that are still with us today. And that, as a Black male, and I'm going to target them because I work with Black males, the prison system that feeds you directly to the prison system. When there is no father in the home, no one to help the single mother to rein that boy child in and tell him what it is to be a man, which way he should go, how he should respect a woman, of marriage, and not just father and children. All those are factors that affect this generation and the last. I'm gonna say this and I'm gonna shut up. But I studied the thing about the railroad men and the Pullman porters, and how I remember my father, Scott McCoy, said he was 17 years old when he started working for Cottonville Railroad. But he refused to pick cotton because he said at least with the railroad, he had a job, he had medical, he had all those benefits. And my mother drew his benefits until she was 5 days to 100 years old. So that says to me, and we were always taught, don't work for private industry, work for the government, become a civil servant. So you have a union, so you have rights. Because too often we would just say, get off the land, nigga, go home. You have no union, get out of here. So all those are factors of why we have, and our children now, my son is 50 years old, and I know there are young ones than that, they want money quick. The route of saying, well, go to school, get an education, and they'll tell you, well, the kids used to tell me, I work with Bloods, I work with Crips in Los Angeles County. Well, Mr. Will, you went to school and got that education. I can make your salary in 1 week. I can sling some rocks. Hey, Why should I slave myself to get a pension? So all of those factors in that mindset, media, music, and they go to the gangs because that's a brotherhood. That's another male that can talk to them and hopefully tell them, well, little brother, don't do that. So the ones that we see, like you see the Denzel Washington, you see the basketball players, and I'm sorry to go on, but I respect people like LeBron James because I feel that he's poor, he came from us, but he gives back to us. And I like him because he sends a positive role model as a Black father, and that he respects his children, and that he respects his wife. So we have to get away from the option that we have to cross over and get other people to be accepted, or we got to look like other people, or we're too dark skinned, our hair is too nappy. All those factors affect our psyche.
Yeah.
The Willie Lynch-isms, as I call it.
Yes. Yes.
Miss Karen, I haven't heard from you today. What do you think we need to do, or how can we assist these males and our family members to change that perception?
You know, I was listening to Valerie, and I tell you, she is so right. In the restorative justice process, what we are doing a lot of is trying to help people see something that Indigenous people did for years. Our young people make mistakes, and oftentimes the system will leverage the harshest punishment possible for that mistake. And because that has been the situation, I'm involved in a program right now where the prosecutor will say, listen, see if you can work with this person through a neighborhood accountability board, which is the process that Indigenous people use. They brought people who had caused harm within the community back to the community to help them understand what that harm was, who was affected by that harm, and how to go about making up for that harm, right? And they didn't put them out of the community. These people continued to live in the community. In Sri Lanka, when you talk about the civil wars over there, those individuals that hurt the community, they have been brought back into the community because they recognize that we are not islands. We need one another. We have to support one another. And we will sometimes make mistakes. When we make the mistakes, we have to have someone that is our elder, someone that is wiser, someone who's had the experience that can sit down and say, this is what happened. What do you think caused you to think this would be okay? You know, was there a need? Because if there's a need, it is incumbent on us as a community to say, how do we address that need? How can we fix this for you? You stole because you needed food. We got a pantry over here. You stole because the baby needed diapers. Here's this program, Happy Bottoms. It will give you the diapers you need, you know. And so we have to be sure that we are upholding each other in a way that allows us to maintain our dignity, allows us to understand that conflict is normal, but violence is not, and to teach our young people where we come from. I am so excited about the book. I've had an opportunity to share it with some of my younger relatives, including my grandchildren. And the words that have been used is, this is crispy. I'm coming back so we can sit and talk about this. Yeah, you know, I don't know what that means. Yeah, I try to keep my cool points up, but they seem to keep adding new words every week.
I never heard that one.
It's new one to me too.
I can't keep up. When that grandkid comes back, I'll let you all know what that means. You know? But the point is, I grew up with my grandmother saying that cherry foot and spelling it Foote was, I believe, her grandmother or great grandmother, you know, and we would record that saying at every family reunion, and it was just that small subset, but we never really had enough knowledge to go back and really find out where Cherry was, who Cherry was, what Indian tribe she was from. You know, there are some cultures, Indian cultures, and I'm going to stop after this, where the women were those people who created the village. The men went out and foraged, but the women basically took care of the village. And I don't know if the Chinook Indian is that tribe, but I do know in my grandmother's family, the women were so empowered to really be responsible for the village. And the men in my family were in the military. They went out, they did the foraging, you know. And so I think that it has made us as a female body just very, very strong. Has made me know I come from something, and it made it impossible for me to tell my children or grandchildren that they don't come from something. So
good. And Karen, just to answer your question, Chinook Indians or Chinook Indians, they do have female leaders in over some tribes. So it's both male and female, but most tribes would be male dominated. Some women were leaders as well. Chapter 8 in Milele Volume 1 talks about it.
So I'm not quite there yet, but now I'm going to be expressing.
Great. So just to recap, we've talked about kind of knowing our roots and about our family's surname, the education system, dispelling negative stereotypes, and the penal system. Now I want to move on to mental health, and I know we have some people here that work in hospitals, etc. But anyone can chime in because I know mental health is near and dear to me. It's important. I personally just had a struggle last year with depression, and what did I do with it? I was like, this was a lot. I want to help people. And I actually created a short film about my journey with that. So I know it's near and dear, but it's oftentimes an elephant in the room. Walking to our family, what's wrong with you? No, people be asking, how can I help you?
Yeah.
If you go to a therapist, what's right with you? Because you're doing the right thing by trying to get help. So I can go on, and I don't want to do that. So can we get someone to chime on the fact about like how can stress or anxiety, depression, anger, etc. lead to health issues besides us eating bad with the hem hocks and all that good stuff? And how is it manifested through the high blood pressure, the diabetes, etc.? Just the mental health portion, the stress, the anxiety, the pressure of being a United States American here in home of the brave and the free.
I will say that particular question, I had targeted that to Sonia and my mom, Bernice, because I knew you guys, you've worked in the health industries. And so we don't have mama on here. Sonia.
Well, say mental health is very, very important, and it's out there, and people hold it in, and that's what really causes stress. Instead of like that's what month is mental health? Is it September or whatever month is mental health? What is this month or last month mental health? But like I said, mental health, people deal with it every day, but they don't like to talk about it. But now you see more people coming out with it and explaining their story and trying to get help. And that's what we need today is talk to a family member or talk to our doctor and go to our doctor and let them know what's bothering us, because it can lead to stress and lead to death, and it's a lot of people are struggling with it. And I just thank God. I mean, I hope I don't have no mental health that I know of. I just try to stay focused and put God put God in my life, which I have him in my life. But like I said, we could still have mental health problems or have mental health issues that we know about or we don't know about, So it's good to have someone to talk to, or like I say, go to our doctor and explain to them what's going on inside of you. So mental health is very important to get what I'm trying to say, to have to get help and to be looked at.
Identified for one.
Yes.
If I could piggyback off of what Sonia is saying, I will be honest with you, family. While writing these 2 volumes, I did some research that there were some days it was overwhelming. What I saw, the orchestration. I mean, everything that was orchestrated against the Black race in this country.
Yes.
In South Carolina, I'd never heard of alligator bait. I don't know if you've heard of that. But to see that they used babies that couldn't walk or crawl and put them on the edge of the river to attract the alligators, to shoot them for the belts and purses and shoes. And if the alligators wasn't coming quick enough, they skint the babies so that the blood and the flailing in the waters would attract them. When I read that, I had Lawanda, she's often done war cries, right? So Lawanda, I had to do one of your war cries. I couldn't hold that in. That was too much darkness for me to absorb. I mean, I was already looking at slavery photographs of slashes on the back. I was looking at strange fruit hanging from the trees,
Black men.
Kids eating from hog troughs, eating corn mush from hog troughs, just the sheer fact of being bread bought and sold. I have had to cry. I've had to journal. While writing the book, I've had to journal on the side.
Right.
I literally have taken a stick, gone in the backyard, and just beat the hell out of a bush. I mean, just whatever it took. Took off walking. And I'm not even a drinker. I've drunk a glass of wine just to say, something, and it's lucky that's all I did, because it's just,
because we the other things.
It's too much evil. I don't understand it. And so I told some friends, I said, I'm going to have y'all recommend a good therapist for me, because I have had to read through too much mess in a short period of time in order to write these 2 books. And it was sensory overload, all that mess. That evil.
I think you bring like a good point when you say you see a therapist, because as African Americans, there's a stigma of saying that we have mental problems. And our history, our DNA presents mental problems. From the trauma of being a slave, and that passed on from generation to generation. And so who could you talk to about it rather than holding it inside? And you see kids go out and shoot up the school because nobody targeted, nobody saw them, no one spoke to them. And you say, oh, I got a crazy relative, don't talk to her, she's crazy. Try to touch her as a human being, not as a wild animal. That is your family, that is your blood, that is your neighbor. And it could be me for the grace of God. So reaching out and touching people and helping them and speaking to them. I mentor my girlfriend's daughter, who was, and I'm gonna say this real quick, she was a rape victim at Fort Leonardwood, gang raped by 5 white men when she was 20 years old. And so they told her mother to come get her. She says, well, what you're sending back to me is not what I sent to you. That child had a nervous breakdown and she's never recovered.
See there?
And so she's here in California, and her mother died, and she left certain people to work with her and help her. And what did they do? They gave her a social worker that was scared to go to the neighborhood where she lives, and she needs her medication. And they sent her to a placement with men. And the lady said they would ring a bell, but then they'll come like horses or something. So I said, well, how could you send a rape victim to a placement where there are men? And she's the only woman. I mean, that's double trauma.
That's double trauma.
And so the few friends that her mother left, we tried to talk to her. One of her conservators had her get her own apartment. She's a very bright child. She graduated from high school at the age of 16, and she wrote scripts for Disneyland. So she just wanted to go in the military, and unfortunately, it turned out very bad for her. But we do what we can to encourage her, listen to her. She calls you sometimes 100 times a day, but I never say no, because she doesn't have a mother. She doesn't have a father.
She needs that.
That's when a network of extended family comes in to help those people.
And continue with the topic of mental health. You mentioned trauma. And we as a people, as African American people, it has been trauma after trauma after trauma. And even now, I think about how it seems as if we're advancing. We've been the president, we're mayors, with this and that. Yes. But as soon as it happens, the rules change, legislation change. So it's kind of like every time it seems as if we get 2 steps forward, then we're not 4 steps back. And also, as it relates to mental health, a lot of family really doesn't know what to tell a person to do. And I don't know, hey Siri, hey Alexa, calling somebody or asking somebody. I think that it's important to make sure that you just try to get those people help. Hey Siri, tell you, calling somebody or asking somebody. And I believe in there. Make sure that you try to get those people help.
Did you get your Siri to answer the question?
Yeah. I did ask.
That's
But
funny.
prayer is important, and I believe in it. But also, I think that we should utilize prayer as well as the resources that God has put here on this earth for us as well. Because a lot of our people have been traumatized. We talked about family trauma. You mentioned rape, Mr. White. There are a lot of people that in our family probably have been raped by a family member. But we don't talk
incest.
Oh yeah,
Very common. Very
it's an
common.
elephant in the room. Everybody know that Uncle Joe does that, but I'm just keeping my kids away from them. But what about Susie's kids who's doesn't have the guidance? So it's important, as my grandma would say, let's be for real and address things in a real manner. Pray, continue to pray without ceasing, and do things that it takes to help. Don't be ashamed. I tell people all the time, I have a therapist, and I love my therapist. Whenever I need a little tweaking right now, I call her. I just paid the $5 copay a few weeks ago. So it's very important, but oftentimes we don't address it. If you don't know, I'll say this: if you don't know what to say, even with mental health or death or anything, just be present. Just be present. Sometimes we just need someone to be present, someone to talk to, someone to rub a shoulder, someone to just listen. And we are responsible for our family. We are our brothers and sisters' keeper.
We are.
And I think we need to make sure that we handle that responsibility. I don't think we're supposed to stay on there that long, but it was needed. And this day is already planned, so it had to be said.
So I want to say one more thing. Oh, sorry. I just want to say we're dealing with trauma now with this COVID and how our kids had to go through home learning.
Yes.
Even the teachers. And I'm on the school board for my district in Posey and Robbins, which is 143.5. And all the kids had to go home, and the teachers, we didn't know nothing about this. It was like, and make sure everything is sanitized, and make sure everything is clean for the kids, and trying to keep them motivated at home. Doing, now they don't get up and go put their uniform on. They lay in the bed, and we had to still keep them motivated and going and making sure they're doing what they're supposed to do in school, and the teachers like we are viral, but it was hard for them. Naturally, it was hard for the students. But see, that's trauma, because some didn't like it and some did like it. It was hard on the parents because the parents had to stay home from work, or get somebody to come in and make sure that their kids are up for school, and so forth. So that's another trauma and mental on the kids, on them, not just the kids, the teachers too. So it's hard. It's hard. But like I say, if we keep God in it, we be all right.
Right. And Subrena, you mentioned some important information, because oftentimes
And can I just say that I was dealing with some mental. I was dealing with some mental issues, and I told my doctor that I needed to go talk with someone. And then what do you do when you go to that doctor and they saying that they don't take your type of insurance? So they're not taking my insurance. So what do I do? If they're not going to see me?
Yeah, that's true. That's true.
Now, in that situation,
so you have to deal with that too when you go.
Yeah. And I know sometimes here in America, it's not always the greatest, but I would try to seek out some other free resources, just like we have the pantries and have this, to see if there may be a therapist that offers free services at a church on Saturdays or something like that. I don't know if that exists, but I think I would probably.
It does. Mental health, Arkansas Black, God, I'm gonna kill it. Arkansas Black Health. Arkansas Black, it's Arkansas Black Health. I'm gonna say division, but I'll figure that out, Lawanda. They do free resources. Because I know when I sat on one of the last in February, a panelist, I was telling them what I just told you all, that concentrated evil that I had to research through in order to do our books. I told them, I said, somebody send me somebody. I don't know what to tell, just send some help my way, because it's too much darkness I've had to weed through for these books. And so they recommended someone through the Arkansas Black Health Commission. Arkansas Black Health Commission.
Okay. Okay. And you mentioned some of your coping mechanisms. You said you beat a bush. Someone else, it may be have a glass of wine. Someone else, it may be screaming. Another person, I don't know, may go riding. Find out what it is that helps you relieve stress. Because when you think about it, living in this world, we work stressful jobs. We have a lot on our family. Gas prices are at an all-time high. Give them the check, and then they double the amount that we have to pay for the stuff. So it's pretty much taken right back. So living in this world, you're always faced with stress, but you're expected to produce as if you're not stressed. So you do have to find a balance.
Yes.
Warren, let me point out someone in the viewing audience, Jacques, asked if he could speak on mental health. Is it possible?
Jacques? Oh, okay. She is in the okay.
Hi,
Maybe?
it's Jacqueline. But when I publish, some people like to put Jackie, and my mother doesn't like that name. So,
Okay.
so I will shorten it. I'm Karen Slaughter's known cousin. I realize I'm a part of the family. I have a PhD in psychology. And so I just kind of wanted to speak on mental health. And she spoke about what happens when they don't take your insurance. There, as you said, there are spaces where you can get help. And so we have to just keep calling around. I used to live in Little Rock. My son is a police officer in Little Rock. And so I kind of came there to make sure he was a good police officer or nobody got at him. I'm his mom. So he's okay now, so I left. But there is resources there in Little Rock that you can, whether that's the medical center, calling them, and those type of resources. So they're available. We just have to reach out a little further. Another thing that you guys talked about is stressors, and we talked about slavery and those things like that. But one of the things that I want to make us aware of is like social determinants of health that we talk about in research, where our social environment creates circumstances that may cause more difficulty, maybe health problems, especially mental health problems, crowded areas with people who live in cities that are more dense, people who are living in areas where it's loud or things like that. And we have to be mindful of those things. And so when we are in those difficult situations, how do we front load? How do we start putting in coping mechanisms? So, President, you said, I was reading all of these terrible things. And so even before you got to that, how do you bring yourself in and draw yourself in and create goodness around you? So I'm ready for that battle. And so we have to kind of think about that. So thinking about coping mechanisms, we're not taught how to cope. For sure, we're not taught how to cope. We just go on with our minds and our brains. And I was talking to somebody today. I said, we got to think about how we think. Metacognition, thinking about thinking. Because the way we think creates our distress. I'm not going to talk long because you didn't ask me to come here today.
No, I appreciate it.
I'm glad that you're here.
Yeah. Y'all, we got a psychologist in the family.
That's good.
Yeah. All right, we're gonna be calling you, Jacqueline.
And cousin, anytime you want to practice, you can practice on me.
Yeah.
Practice on me. Okay, Doris, you thought you were gonna get by? No, you're not. How do you cope with stress? How do you cope with your stressors?
I think you have to take a step away, just like when I'm getting all these notifications on my phone, and somebody that got killed here, somebody that got killed there. Somebody just have to put their phone down. You just have to take a step away from it.
Yeah,
that's true, and it's important to disconnect, because I think one issue I have, I'm always accessible. 2:00 in the morning, 2:00 in the evening, I'm always accessible, and I realized I care for other people. I was carrying a lot of other people's burdens, and I was not well. I was neglecting myself. Well, sometimes you have to do that. And I was able to articulate, I learned it in therapy, how I'm feeling and why. And say, I understand I am not strong enough to help carry this burden right now. Hey, try calling this person, try calling that person. Because I think, that came again with therapy. I'm getting better with communicating what I'm feeling. I used to hold so much
inside.
It was making me sick almost. But now I'm able to express how I'm feeling. And I hope that you don't get mad at it. But if you do, you love me. You'll be all right.
Yeah.
Okay.
Not to your head, not to your heart.
Yeah, I feel so much better with doing that. Part 6. This is part 6 on the menu. We're almost done. Defining ourselves. Now, Alice Walker, she wrote a book entitled not only The Color Purple, We Are the Ones We've Been Waiting For. So this question is targeted at anyone, and it says, do you believe Alice Walker's statement? Explain why. And again, that was, we are the ones we've been waiting for. So anybody can chime in. And Becky, you're at the potluck table. Go ahead and grab your plate and a fork and a spoon and get you some of them ham hocks and greens out of that pot and talk to us.
Now I'm hungry.
So I'm going to go real quick, and I'm going to say yes.
Okay.
Yes, I absolutely believe that. Partly for the very reason that Subrena has written the book. It's so that we know we are the ones that we've been waiting for, and that we hold our future, and that we have the ability to link our past with our future, and that's our responsibility. It's nobody else's. It's our story to tell. And I'm so appreciative of the information that's been provided to help me tell that story beyond Sherry Foote, F-O-O-T-E, which is what my grandmother, drilled into me. So yes, I am thrilled, and I believe, yes, that is true.
Anyone else want to chime in?
I believe that statement wholeheartedly. We are the ones who define who we are. We define where we're going. We feel the fear, but do it anyhow. We propel and move forward. We go after goals. We teach our children who they are, where they came from, help them set their goals, be there for the support of them when they accomplish it, help them accomplish it. And then also if it's something that doesn't go the way that they had planned, I'm not going to call it a failure, but it just didn't go the way they had planned. So all of our resources, I mean, just on this small panel that we have an actor, we have a writer, we have a songwriter and a singer, we have someone in the medical field, in the psychology field, in law enforcement, an educator. I mean, just in these 8 people that's panelists right now. So, and you'll be blown away to see the histories that we all had individually. We may have knew of a couple of extended families and what they were doing. But when you see this concentrated, abbreviated history of our family, I'm blown away.
Yeah.
The strength that we have and the resources that we have.
Yeah.
And I'll say this: if this is what we've been waiting for, it's a lot. Like you mentioned, just right here at this table, there's a lot. And I don't mind waiting, but while I'm waiting, I'm working. It only gets better, and for that, I'm excited about it. Now, I do have a few pictures, Subrena, that I want to pull up, and I want you to explain this here. Could you explain this? Well, I'll let you explain what it is.
Okay, so this is the family coat of arms. One of the first things that I did, we came from a European family, and we bore their surname at the least. And so I wanted to find out more about Richard Foote, the family members that were in Virginia. And so they came out of Cromwell, England, and this was their coat of arms. So being it was theirs, it's also ours.
Okay. And the next picture here.
So I had an engineer to give me a rendering of what the Foote plantation looked like. So the placement may be different in actuality, and this is in Prince William County, Virginia. On the deed, it showed that they had 23 outcrop buildings in addition to the big house, right? And so this is a rendering of what that plantation looked like. And those actual names of the buildings are the buildings that they listed that was on the Foote tobacco plantation in Prince William County, Virginia.
Wow.
What'd you say, Sonia?
I said that was nice.
Yeah, it's also in I think it's in volume 1.
Okay.
So you'll see that it's across the 2-page spread. So we all have a copy of that. I also made that into a poster. That as well as that Milele poster.
How many people watching know what your family coat of arms looks like? I just want to be a little braggadocious like this. So thank you for bringing that to our attention.
Yes.
Speak about your book that you've authored, and here's actually my background. If a person desires to retrieve a copy, how would one do so?
I'm sorry, I couldn't hear the question too well.
Okay, if a person wants to retrieve the book, how do they do so?
So I had decided that I would sell the book 3 times a year, and I'll tell you why I say that. We have to get enough order that it makes it feasible to purchase the book. Let me just say, everybody that has a book now, I didn't make any money off of the book, not $5 off the book.
Oh my.
So what you paid for is what it costs to print it, them to ship it to me to get a package, and then ship it to you. My thing was I wanted the family to get it. So it's a voluptuous book, so all of that cost didn't spare in terms of making the pages in color. So colored pages cost more, and then just the quality of the book. I know you have a picture of it, but this is the actual book itself. And it is chucked full of I'm glad I got that one open. That is one of our ancestors.
All right.
That fought in the Civil War. We know of 2 that fought in the Civil War. And then so it's February. I chose February because of Black History Month is when I'll place that order. And it'll be on the 3rd of every month. I had some folks say, hey, I get my money on the 1st. So, will you take the order then? Because it's all pre-orders. I don't have any books in bulk. I didn't purchase anything other than those who paid for it. And then that's what I ordered. So no pressure to buy. But February 3rd, and then I chose June for Juneteenth month. So June 3rd. And then I chose November for Thanksgiving. I mean, we're thankful for our families. So November 3rd. Those are the 3 months that you can order the books. And earlier we were talking about our children and making sure they know where we come from. So the book is really serious. We Are Milele. There's some imagery in there that we may or may not want to show our kids, depending on, the age appropriateness of it. While we were sequestered with COVID, I challenged both of my daughters to write a book. And so my oldest that's living here, she wrote a children's book. It's called, let's see, Footprints. Looking back and moving forward.
It's nice. Very nice.
What it has is, you'll see images in our Milele book. She has taken select family members. Let me get to a page. She's taken select family members and highlighted them in here.
Oh, that's nice.
So in chapters 1, 2, and 3 of Milele, you'll read about Billy and Kittyfoot. This is about Kitty. And some of the facts about her. And so her grandson, William Henderson Foote, he was a revenue man. He was one of our first ancestors that was lynched. Unfortunately, we've had 3 lynchings in our family. 2 of them we know of. 2 of them were documented in the paper. He was one of the 2. He was a revenue man. He was the precursor to Elliot Ness. And this was before emancipation, who was busting up distilleries and then having saloon owners, legitimate saloon owners, pay revenue to the government for selling liquor. A black man was doing that against white establishments. He ended up getting lynched though. And Winnie, she was an educator. So it goes back. So Brishana, she did an excellent job taking 3 of the Foot family members, 3 of the Gullet, well, 1 Gulledge, 3 Scarboroughs, 3 Kellys, 3 people, you know, tried to even it out and not make it heavily laden of just being Foot descendants. So she hasn't started selling those. That's an excellent book to give our children. I know I'll have these books in perpetuity. These will be heirlooms that I'll pass down. Well, all my kids are gonna have a copy. So,
That's nice.
Very nice.
Thank you. They weren't gonna sit here during COVID. They weren't gonna sit up in this house and not do something. I'm not gonna say I didn't bribe them. I did bribe them. I said, if you write a book, I'll give you this. Right? And they got there. They got there. And my youngest daughter, she started her book. It is titled Why Us? Explaining Slavery to an African American Child. So I will say it's heavy. It's heavy material, but that's the household it grew up with. So, yeah.
Now, is there anything else that someone may want to add that we did not cover? It's almost dessert time. Son, you know, it would be right. Unless I make my all the time request.
And what is that? What's your request?
Amen. As we get ready to close.
Okay.
And this is totally improv, people. She didn't know this.
You ready now?
I'm ready now.
I'm ready.
Okay. Let me get myself together. I've learned how to live holy. I've learned how to live right. I've learned how to suffer. Oh, if I suffer, have eternal life. For when I see Jesus, amen. When I see the man who set me free, the man who died for me, amen. 'Cause all my troubles, all of my heartaches, all of my burdens, they will all be all over. For when I see Jesus,
amen. Amen.
Yes. Amen. But when I see Jesus, amen. Yes. Amen. Thank you.
Amen.
Thank you.
And that's always a quest of mine whenever I'm in the presence of Miss Sonia, be it in person or be it online. And it just kind of inspires me. I love to hear her sing that. A few more things real quick, and this is kind of, I forgot to do this at the beginning. There are some birthdays within both sides of my family, so I have to do this real quick since we're on. I promised him that I would do this. I want to wish a happy birthday to my Aunt Ron, who is my dad's sister, She just celebrated her birthday on last week, so happy birthday, Auntie Tron. Also, my cousin Robert Adams, who celebrated her birthday on today. He's a part of the Great Eight, a group of our cousins that have just kind of formed a travel group, and we travel and we call ourselves the Great Eight. So happy 40-something birthday to you. You're getting old, and I just know that you're older than I am.
Oh, that's not old.
And last but not least, celebrating today, right now, my best friend, Summer Lagone Bridget, who is actually, I left her celebration to be here because this is equally important to me. And I'm getting ready to change clothes and go to part 2 of that. I do want to say happy birthday to each of you.
Mine was yesterday.
Okay. Happy birthday.
Yeah.
Birthday.
54.
Oh, okay.
God bless. All
Thank
right.
you. Thank you.
Yeah, I'm I can't sing like Sonia.
Oh, I heard you. Yes, you can.
And we're here because of you.
Yes, you can.
I want to do Hallelujah. Yesterday was your birthday. Thank you, Jesus. It's your birthday. Thank you, Jesus, for waking you up. Thank you, Jesus, for giving you vision to write this book. Happy birthday. It's your birthday, all right. Only me family will I make a fool of myself.
Yesterday.
Yeah, is there anyone else celebrating a birthday this month? No, because I know we have a lot of summer babies. I said those winter months must have been something else because I'm a summer baby too. July 5th. So in a few weeks, I'll be celebrating my 41st birthday. So with that being said, people, I am so excited that everyone has joined. Of course, this will be still on my Facebook page where people can watch on YouTube. So find my page, like, tag, and share it because people continue to watch. And that's one thing I like about streaming, about the new technology. We don't have to redo things over and say, hey, you missed it. You can go back and so I think that was like, tag, and share that. And that's pretty much all that I have. If there's anyone else that has something else to say at this time.
No, thank everybody for joining today.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
And thank you for inviting me. It's good to lay eyes on part of my ancestors on my father's side. But I never. So thank you. It's a joy. Thank you.
And I personally look forward to meeting each of you in person, be it a family or just a dinner or a potluck or something, a real potluck. I'm talking about this food that I'm hungry now.
Now, where is everybody located? Are we all in different cities?
Okay. Well, I'm in Chicago. I'm in Chicago.
Okay. Okay. I'm in California.
Oh, okay. Okay.
And Subrena, where are you?
Little Rock.
Okay.
Okay. Miss Brooks? Miss Lawanda Brooks, where are you located?
I'm in Arkansas, Little Rock, Arkansas.
Okay. Miss Johnson?
Pine Bluff, Arkansas.
Miss Slaughter?
Kansas City, Missouri.
Okay. Jacqueline?
Houston, Texas.
I was just there.
Really?
Yeah, I was visiting another one of our cousins in Houston.
Oh, really? Okay.
Yeah.
Well, I'll have to come back to Pine Bluff, Arkansas. I love going there this summer with my grandmother. And I want to go see my cousin, Pally Hayes, down there in Packentown. So
okay.
I want to come back. I have folks over there in Kansas City as well. So I may drop in and see you all when the virus gets up. I'd like to see everybody. Hopefully we can have
and we all related.
Yes.
Some kind of way, right? Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Hey.
Yes. Okay.
Kay is from California. She's related to Jackie Elijah.
Yes, I remember.
You used to live in St. Louis, didn't you, Kay? Yeah, I remember when you came to visit us.
Yeah.
I do too.
Miss Lottie Sanders is my grandma. Lydia Sanders. And Marty Church. Yeah.
Yep, and Willie Clark was our grandmother.
Okay. Whose grandmother? Willie Clark.
Willie Clark was mine and Jackie's grandmother.
Oh my
Ruby's
goodness.
my mother. Mary is Jackie's mother.
Oh my God, I know Ruby and Poochie and Dolores and all of them.
Yes.
But Valerie, I didn't know your name was Valerie. I remember you by Kay and Jackie Clark. I remember that.
Now, where did I meet you at? Where did I meet you at?
Kansas City.
Oh my goodness.
Well, as a child, you was you know my mother, Mary, but
Mary. Okay. I know Dolly.
Mary is one of the ones down in the middle where near
and they
Lawanda.
sometimes called her May. So.
Yes.
Oh,
that's
my bad.
Wonderful. I didn't get to know all my daddy's people, but I hope to get to meet you all. And one thing my grandmother always told me, don't marry nobody in Packentown because you're related to all of them. They're all your relatives. So
yeah.
That is funny.
Wonderful. Small world.
It is a small world.
My grandmother
in Kansas, you know Uncle Nathan Bowie.
Yeah, I know Nathan.
Okay.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Nathan pastors the church here. Yes. In fact, one of my co-workers plays piano for him periodically.
Okay. And I just spoke to Boyd Bowie's daughter yesterday. She's in Buffalo, New York.
Okay.
Harlem Globetrotter that he played with. His daughter is in Buffalo. Her name is he's got two girls there. But Rodney, his son, he died. But you got Boyd Bowie Jr. and you got Beverly Ann and Rose. All of them are in Buffalo. So teacher there, and she's a teacher. So a lot of kinfolk.
Yeah, I'll tell you, Daniel, your ancestor Renee, and Jackie and Karen, your ancestor with Willie Lee, and Scott McCoy, yours, Kay, and Sonia, your Hattie, right?
Yeah, Hattie Foot, my grandmother.
Okay.
Extensive chapter on all of them.
You said Hattie Foot.
Yeah, Hattie Foot. That was my grandmother.
Well, that granddaddy, my granddaddy, Danny, his sister name was Hattie.
Right. I know Uncle Danny. I remember Uncle Danny. I remember Uncle Doc. And what's the other one name? Oscar.
Okay, that was my dad.
Uncle Oscar was your dad?
Oh. Well, you know, granddaddy, his son was Oscar, my daddy.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
And Mary, which was my great grandmother, she was the oldest sibling of all of them. She was the firstborn.
Okay.
Yeah, because Lil Wash was my grandfather. That was my daddy's dad, Ulysses Jones.
Okay.
Interesting history on your wash, Sonia.
Okay.
They were Ethiopian, and it was documented on a piece of paper. So we're all doing DNA tests to validate what ethnic tribe we came from out of Africa. Well, Wash Jones Sr. filled out a document that said he was Ethiopian. I was so excited to let you know that.
Wow, you said that. Yes.
Yeah. All of us here. I'm not gonna forget anybody's nothing because it's burned.
You did a wonderful job. Wonderful
Yeah,
job.
a wonderful job.
Wonderful job. Connecting us. Beautiful.
Sure. Gosh.
Well, with that being said, we're starting to sound like the lady that we opened.
Yeah. You see why I wanted to do that.
Right. It was so befitting. I was like, we have to put that in there. I don't care.
Yeah.
Lauren, thank you so much for hosting this podcast.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you so much.
That needs a part 2, 3, 4, and 5. So I would say, family, be on the lookout. We may be next time via
You
Zoom.
were full.
Yeah,
People were texting me saying they couldn't get in because it was full.
Right.
Yeah.
We need to bring more dishes the next time. It's potluck.
I was trying to push them over to my Facebook page or YouTube. Yeah, we have a small table.
So, cousin, the next book printing is now November. Is that what it is?
The next order.
For November. Okay.
Yeah. I will say that there were a couple of things that I had to get them to change in volume 2. So there may be a possibility that I could call and say, add 1 or 2 books in. If there's some family out here that's on the panel, or if those are still listening that may want it, just give me a call and let's see if we can get them to add some.
I can do that. I will do that and try to. I think I have your phone number, so I'll try to text you and let you know that I'm who I am and go forward.
Okay.
Okay.
All right.
Well, if there's nothing else to claim our attention, I thank each of you sous chefs and family members for joining me at the potluck table. I always say here at the potluck, you bring whatever you eat. And today, Subrena brought her books to us and family history and our coat of arms and so much. And we have so much talent. So we eat whatever people bring. However, if it's nasty, we're going to spit it out. And we're also going to ask who cooked it. And also remember, we never put any raisins in our potato salad.
No.
I am Master Chef Warren L. Booker Jr. Audience members, thank you so much for tuning in. I want you to enjoy the rest of your night. And make sure you celebrate Juneteenth. Make sure you celebrate your family. You love your family. If you don't know what Juneteenth is, do some research. Ask Siri, ask Alexa, and they will help you out. Or simply open up a book and just read. With that being said, I thank each of you, and I will see you sometime.
I love everybody.
God bless
All righty.
Everybody in person one day.
All righty.
Yeah.